And just like that, we are back with chapter 36 of The Universe According to Mugsy. I am Mugsy, the creator, and today is Tuesday, June 4th. And I am so excited to be talking to you guys from the new mobile studio. This one's going to be able to travel with me wherever the fuck that I go because all I need is a goddamn table and a goddamn chair, a microphone, a laptop. I don't even need an internet connection to fucking talk to you people. All right, just to upload it. Oh my God, I'm so excited. So this is it. This is going to be 2.0 in the garage of the new place. And we're gonna see what the fuck happens. I'm so excited. This is gonna be such a great episode. This is gonna be such a great episode. I told you. If you haven't been paying attention yet, I am so fucking good at this. It doesn't even matter where we're at. Okay? Listen to the words that are coming out of my fucking mouth. Laugh at the surroundings that are happening. Enjoy it if it's a nice, peaceful view. But today, I'm going to enjoy the fucking view. All right. I'm going to fucking enjoy the view of everything that we have brought into fruition from chapter 1 through chapter 30 motherfucking 5. 36, this is going to be a fun one. We are going to talk culture, current events, and consciousness in that fucking order. And I want to talk about culture because it's has the most effect on us. Okay, people? That really is the truth of it. We are surrounded by the culture that we co-create and we co-author and bring into existence in this three-dimensional plane of space-time. Oh, and part of that is how we challenge each other because I fucking told you this whole move did not go down according to the way that I had fucking planned it. All right. I moved in with my buddy who I had been friends with for 10 years, one of my best fucking mates. And we have a blast going out and drinking beers together, going out on the town, trying to pick up chicks. And from time to time, he would come over to my place. You know, he'd leave a fucking cabinet open or something like that. Leave a dish on the counter, and it's no big fucking deal, guys. That's not a big deal. It's not a big deal when it's once in a while, but it's a completely different story when you fucking move in together. That is a completely different thing that either just, I mean, we talked about it. You know, there's been a couple times when you pull up to your own apartment and the front door's open and you start to think to yourself, I wonder what the robbers took. Like, did I leave the door open myself? Was it unlocked? Or do you walk into your apartment and find everything that was there before? And then you think to yourself, well, how did my front door get open? Oh, my roommate's home. He's in his room playing video games. He must have forgot that when you open doors, you close them after. Oh, we talked about the couple times where I came home to an apartment filled with smoke, a toxic fume, to the point where I had to place my hand on the door. I was literally pulling information from back when I was a child, maybe the Cub Scouts, where they taught you if you see smoke inside of a building, put your hand on the door first before you touch the knob because that shit might burn your hand if there's a fire. I have to do this. I had to do this routinely when I returned to my apartment because sometimes you boil water to make pasta and then you go play video games and then you fucking play video games for 6 hours. And that pasta water boils the fuck off until it creates a toxic smoke that fills the entire apartment, setting off the fire alarms that you cannot hear because you are so self-involved with your own fucking video games. And that is a culture that we have accepted as friends, as parents, as roommates. You know, I was lucky enough to have a roommate who was responsive enough to recognize that he had made mistakes and correct them. So, from time to time, my house, after those first couple times, my house was never filled with smoke again. And eventually he remembered to close the door, not lock it ever. And then it's just, it's gaslighting. I don't know what type of roommates you guys have lived with, but for for someone to come home and never lock the door. I'm not just talking about like once or twice you forget to lock the door. That happens to the best of us, okay? We're human. I'm talking about 7 days a week. When you come in the middle of the day, in the afternoon, at night, it doesn't fucking matter. You never lock the door. And then you have the balls and the nerve to walk into my fucking bedroom and say, hey, can you make sure you lock the door before when you come in? You're fucking gaslighting me, bro. And the problem is you don't even recognize it because you're too ignorant, naive, and self-involved to recognize that there's a possibility that maybe you've never locked a door in your fucking life, man. In your fucking life. And I bring all of this up to set the table for my move out story. It was, oh man, it was interesting. It's interesting. You move out. I've moved out of a lot of fucking places in my time. I was an RA. I went to 5 fucking schools internationally, abroad, up north, down south. It doesn't fucking matter. I've moved in and moved out of a million places, gotten fired from being an RA, moving all my shit out in the middle of a semester into a fraternity house. I've done it all, man. And I have never once in my entire fucking life lived with somebody who denied the ownership of their own items when it came time to remove them from an apartment. It's motherfucking crazy. I don't eat cereal. I don't eat fucking cereal. And I certainly haven't eaten cereal for the last 3 to 4 years. I didn't just start not eating cereal. I haven't eaten it for over a decade, way more than 2 decades, maybe. We're coming up on. So when we are moving out of an apartment and you cannot do that on your own, you have your parents help you, and they get in my fucking way by asking me, hey, is this cereal yours? And I say no. And then you also say, that is not your fucking cereal? Are you kidding me, man? I don't eat cereal. You you eat cereal I live with you. I watch you eat cereal every fucking morning. And you're going to sit here with a straight face and tell me you don't eat cereal? Oh, it's too much. It's too fucking much. I I live with this guy, and his parents own the apartment. Very nice people. I want to tell you that this is my friend. He's still my friend. His parents are very nice fucking people. But on May 31st, 2024, as I am moving out of my fucking apartment, literally picking up boxes and carrying them from one room outside of the apartment to a vehicle where I am transporting them, the owner of the apartment asked me, how are you planning on getting all this stuff out of here? Well, I'm going to finish the back room. Then I'm going to make my way into the front rooms. The last thing I'm going to do is the kitchen. Now it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I got to be out of there at that night. So I'm in the process of doing this. This is not like something I'm planning on doing sometime in the future. This is not like over the course of the next 2 weeks, I'm going to start with the back bedroom and then I'm going to make my way forward and get all the stuff in the front room and then the kitchen. I am doing this in the next 3 fucking hours. Okay. I'm going to work here. walk through this room 75 times, make sure I have everything. Well, she decided that was going to be the time, that was going to be the best time to wash the kitchen floor. Are you fucking kidding me? I mean, I'm just assuming here. Let's say I've moved out 15 times in my life. What is the average intelligence of those people? Not a one of those people who I had to move my shit out and check in with because I didn't own the fucking properties ever decided to start washing the kitchen floor before my silverware and dishes had been fucking removed. Do you know what it's like to try and skate across a fucking wet kitchen floor as you're trying to carry a sofa out the goddamn door? This is motherfucking insanity. It was so crazy. So crazy. It's crazy that a 35-year-old man cannot move himself out of his apartment. It's crazy that his parents have been dropping off furniture for us for the last 4 years and have the balls to say to my face, yeah, I don't really collect things. That's why I never have anything to move. What are you in the process of doing right now, lady? Because your son can't handle it on his own. You have stuffed his apartment so full of shit that doesn't mean anything to you. You don't need it in your own house. So you've stuffed his apartment full of it. And now I'm trying to move out. And I have no problem helping you move that shit wherever you want to take it. But the problem is you don't know what the fuck is what. So every time I go to move a box out of one room, I hear a call, hey, Mugsy. Mugsy, is this shirt yours? Well, I put down my box. I go walk into the other room. I take a look. Nope, that shirt is not mine. Oh, okay. Must be Mike's shirt then. Okay. Well, then I guess it is. I'm going to go get back to moving my stuff. Okay, sweetheart? Okay. Pick up my fucking box. Take 3 more steps. Mugsy. Mugsy, what about this vacuum? Is this vacuum yours? Let me put this box down. Come back out. No, that's your vacuum. That's actually your vacuum. Oh, yes, that's right. I left this vacuum over here for you guys. Oh, that's right. It is my vacuum. Okay. I'm going to get back to cleaning boxes now, okay? All right. Go into the other room, pick up the box, take 3 more steps. Are you fucking kidding me, lady? What are we doing here? What are we in the process of doing here? I truly don't get it. It is, oh, it was so nuts. It was so, I couldn't tell the story. I couldn't talk about it. It took all of my mental capacity to get through the last month and a half. Doing this podcast, you guys had no fucking idea. Oh my God, every day, every moment of every day was just a battle. And it's one of those things where you truly don't know until you get out of there that you just let out this fucking exhale that you didn't know you were carrying around every day so much. Oh, just when is the numbnuts going to come in and do something fucking so stupid that I cannot fathom the questions that I'm going to be asked today? Oh, oh, and the cherry on top of the whole thing. How many times in this podcast did I say, oh, a mouse just ran under my fucking couch? Oh, I got to go set some mouse traps. Oh, I got to become an exterminator. Well, the first thing my landlord did, we moved in before it was done. I don't know how we got talked into that, but before the kitchen and the bathroom were fully finished, he was still doing a little work in there. Not a big deal. I'm a fucking guy. I don't need a hell of a lot. I got a toothbrush, a fucking razor, and that's about it. Some deodorant. Okay, so I don't need a hell of a lot. But what he failed to do was finish putting a panel in the back corner of the floor so you could see right into the fucking ground. Where do you think those mice were coming from? Now, how much mental time and energy do you think I spent trying to catch mice, worrying about mice getting on all my shit, worrying about mice in my food, worrying about mice running underneath my fucking wife's feet as we're cooking, as we're trying to shower, use the bathroom, use the living room? How much mental capacity did I think about those motherfucking mice over the past 3.5, 4 years? And he comes into that bathroom as we're fucking moving out. And he says, "Oh, I think I found where the mice were coming in." Really, sir? Then why did you tell me I didn't have mice for the past 3 years? I mean, when you and the exterminator came and you said you got on your hands and knees and you did the perimeter of the apartment. You didn't see this hole in the floor? When I pointed it out and you said it wasn't a hole the last time, that didn't happen? I'm misremembering? Oh my God. Oh my God. It's over. It's all fucking over. Oh, oh, it feels so good to let that breath out. This feels so fucking good. And it felt so good during the past couple months to be fucking thankful for the time that I had there. As ridiculous as it was, I needed, I needed to have those conversations, not only with him and that fucking landlord, but to choose what conversations to have to allow myself to recognize when I was wasting my own fucking energy. So eventually, when I found out I was moving out of that goddamn apartment, it was a godsend. And it didn't matter where I was going. I don't give a shit if I'm moving back in with my parents. I don't give a shit if I'm moving into my car. This podcast is going to take me everywhere I need to go because I am so much fucking smarter than the people around me, than what the culture has accepted, because I have created a culture in my own mind where I don't accept this fucking low level logistical bullshit from myself or anyone around me. You know, I can exist around you people in your matrix for an amount of time, but it's uncomfortable for me. It's uncomfortable because I can't stand being around people who are so goddamn out of touch with reality. I don't get it. The entire time I was living in that apartment, that same landlord was frustrated because he didn't think he was getting enough money out of me. Isn't that insane? I had an apartment filled with mice that he said didn't exist from a floor he didn't finish. And when it was pointed out to him, he denied it existed again. It's all, what can I do with that? What can I do with that? Nothing. Not a goddamn thing. Love and empathy, you know? I didn't lose my shit on him like I could have when he pointed out that there was a fucking hole in his floor. I'm hoping that now that he's recognized it, he'll fix it for the next guy and maybe they won't have as many mice. But that's not going to be the case because even that is only one tiny aspect of the issues that he has been closing his mind to that I haven't even seen that exists. I don't build houses, man. But I saw your gutter fall off the wall 6 months ago. And I know that that water's got to go somewhere and it's coming down the side of your fucking house. Now, I don't own a house. I've never observed what long-term sustained water damage does down the side of a building. But I told you the gutter fell off the wall 6 months ago. And you've chosen to do nothing about it. I would imagine there's going to be some long-term effects to those decisions. Oh, Holy shit, I have been holding that in for so long. It feels so good to get rid of it. And that is the culture that we have created. That's the culture that I can't accept anymore. That's the culture that I will sit in a motherfucking garage in a mobile studio to explain to you people, whoever wants to hear from me, that if you hang around with me, I don't accept that bullshit. All right. If that's my motherfucking apartment you're renting, there's never going to be any issues. You give me a fucking call and we're going to figure it out. All right. Even if I have to sleep on your motherfucking couch and catch those mice by hand, we're going to fucking figure it out. You can guarantee fucking tee it. Because I just don't half ass shit. All right. That's the bottom line. And that is a perfect segue into current events, because I understand the present greater than anybody else I have ever met in real life. And I would love to engage with someone that believes they understand it better than me. But now is a time where decisions have been made in reality of this matrix that we all coexist in, space time, the world where you guys all have jobs that you go to. When you're out driving your car and these zombies sit at green lights because they're texting on their phone. Those are fucking zombie people out there. They don't understand the reality of the coexistence of this matrix and the outside world. The outside world is the culture that I live inside in my fucking mind. My ability to have gratitude for the apartment that I lived in, even though it was simultaneously making me a little bit nuts inside. I could compartmentalize that shit and be thankful for the space that I had, utilize it to grow in the best possible way that I could for the time that I had to be there, until I could find a way to grow into something else, something better, something different. And right now, that's in a motherfucking garage, and I love it. Oh, doing a podcast outside is fucking beautiful. Fucking beautiful. Now, let's get into the fucking current events, guys. I know what you want to talk about. I know. I can't believe it. I could feel my listeners wanting to send me messages. Donald Trump, we've been talking about it. He's fucking guilty. 34 counts of a felony. Felony to do whatever. We are not going to get into the specifics of the case. We have done it enough. We have done it enough. We have outlined how they have raised this misdemeanor to a felony in the state of Massachusetts because of the attorney general, which requires them to outline how this specific misdemeanor has been tied to a specific felony, which they have failed to do. They have not named that specific felony. They've taken a crime that numerous politicians, oh my God, I got fucking ants on me. Numerous politicians have committed, not only fucking politicians, business people, people every day, rich people pay somebody they had sex with to keep their mouth shut. This is common practice. If you don't understand that that exists in the world, then you are naive and small-minded, and I cannot help you other than to explain to you that it does. It happens every motherfucking day. Where do you think these lawyers charge all of their $100 fucking $1,000 of hours to? It's rich motherfuckers that had sex with somebody they don't want other people finding out about. So now they need somebody to draw up a non-disclosure agreement to keep that person quiet, something that they'll be contractually obligated to follow. All right. So this is nothing fucking new. But regardless, there's a judge who gag ordered a former president of the United States during an election season while escalating all of these fucking meaningless charges that mean nothing, so that they could come to this day that we all exist in now, where Donald Trump is a felon, convicted felon. Are you going to vote for a convicted felon? That is the premise that they want everybody to ask themselves. And to them, I'm reminded of the opening scene of The Departed, Marty Scorsese's movie, Oscar-winning film about a guy from Southie, Whitey Bulger. And the opening scene of that movie, there's a kid talking about cops and robbers and guns. And when you're standing on the other side of a loaded gun, what's the difference between a cop and a robber, right? When we exist in a country that is utilizing the Justice Department to attack their political enemies, what does a felony really fucking mean? And you've noticed, or you should have noticed, that a shit ton of really rich men, most of them white, in this country all got together and crashed Donald Trump's donation site after that judgment was handed down by the district attorney of New York. They crashed the website because all of these rich white men are standing up. Because if you're going to do this to this guy, what's stopping you from doing it to me next and my business and throwing me in jail just because I fucked a prostitute and I didn't want my wife to find out, so I drew up an NDA agreement and I executed it. Maybe it wasn't a prostitute. Maybe it was a porn star. Maybe it's an actress. Maybe it's my secretary. That's what's going through the minds of the Mark Cubans, the Kevin O'Learys, the owners of Google and Adobe and fucking Cisco. And not even just the owners, the vice presidents and the people that only have $10 million that fucking love harassing their fucking secretary every day. And it's only a matter of time before she lets me stick her with it. And I can get her to fucking sign this non-disclosure agreement. Do you not understand how this country works yet, people? What is it that you're not seeing? What is it that I can help make real fucking clear to you? Because the current events section of this, we get to speculate what's next, motherfucker. What's next? Because if I do go down to the ballot box in November, I plan on signing my name and nothing else. That's a vote of non-confidence in both of these motherfucking candidates, because I cannot, in good conscience, vote for Donald Trump again either, even though he is the lesser of two evils, because that's the same game we've been playing all along, the lesser of two evils. Regardless, I don't think we're going to get that opportunity. How can the deep state now? Let's take a look at the timeline, all right? Let's just think about this for a couple minutes. Starting in 2016, with Donald Trump's election, the Democratic Party went on a denial campaign where they denied the results of that election. They pushed for the Electoral College to non-certify it. They deny the existence of denying that election today, even though there are countless videos on YouTube, Twitter, Rumble, on podcasts across the country that will show you that documentation today. And they pushed this idea of the Steele dossier for 3 years. They pushed this idea of Russian collusion between Donald Trump to get elected president of the United States of America. There were investigation after investigation where we now understand it was revealed to us that the FBI, the CIA, the Justice Department, many of the judges were all working and collaborating together with non-governmental institutions and the mainstream media, news organizations, newspapers, the Washington Post, owned by Jeff Bezos, the New York Times and Wall Street Journal, owned by Rupert Murdoch, Fox News Corporation, CNBC, Microsoft News Corporation, owned by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Bloomberg News Corporation, owned by Michael Bloomberg. Do you understand how there's only a few people feeding into this entire fucking narrative? They were fighting this guy the entire time he was president. Now, I can't forgive him because he still will stand on that stage and he will say that he saved the country because of COVID and the vaccine that saved America. As it is now being revealed to us that those vaccines were incredibly deadly, detrimental to physical health. They have had side effects that we are only just learning about now. And it was the collusion between the small group of people who controlled the mainstream narratives that silenced anyone who was trying to bring side effects and vaccine injuries to light. That all existed under Donald Trump's presidency as well. I'm not saying his legs weren't cut out from underneath him. And I'm not saying I don't have high aspirations if Donald Trump is elected president in the next 4 years, like any United States president elected. I want only the best for this country. But if you can't admit the mistakes you already made, then how do we expect more from you? We get it. Everybody was out after you. And I have no doubt in my mind that he's going to go after them with the full force of his ability to do so. But this is crazy. There's two dogs running down the street and people running after him. That's the beauty of podcasting outside. Want some treats. Oh my God, guy, go for a run. Oh, I hope you get them, man. I hope you get them. You can't buy this. You can't buy this entertainment. Donald Trump. Okay, where were we at? Where the fuck were we at? I'm not saying everybody didn't cut their legs out out from underneath him. I'm not saying everybody wasn't working out against him, but he didn't have the ability to select the right people around him the first time, and I don't know that he's demonstrated the ability to do so a second time around. I'm quite sure that he is going to go after the people that went after him, but at what cost to the United States country? How is he going to go about tactfully doing that? Is Vivek Ramaswamy going to be able to weasel his way? And I don't mean weasel in a negative sense. I mean it in a positive sense. Is he going to be able to find a way to be close enough to Donald Trump to provide him with some sound, logical advice that not only achieves his short-term desires, but the long-term goals of making America a better country? Now, we still have 3 more grand juries, I believe, for Donald Trump. 3 more cases. None of this is going to be resolved before the election, and that's exactly why they did it. You want to talk about election interference? All of this information was available to the judicial system, attorneys general, any state departments to prosecute our former president during any time during 2021, 22, or now 2023. They chose this for a reason. Because when they interfere in elections, they don't want to call it that. They don't want you to notice. But that's what they're going to continue to do. So here we are on June 4th. What could come next? I've noticed that oil took a dive in the last 2 days, $2.50 on a price move somewhere in the $80 range. So that's more than 2% in one day. Now, oil moves are interesting because foreign nations have significant influence over the price of oil. Now, the United States is a large exporter of oil. So if everyone else in the world decides they want to start pumping as much oil as they possibly can out of the ground, they are going to depress the price of oil, which means the United States of America isn't going to make as much money shipping that. Now, they can kick that into high gear. They can also stop buying our bonds, and they can try and crash our economy. The Federal Reserve Bank and the Treasury Department could play a role in those. Is that something we could be looking at for a November surprise? We're at war, right? We're at war with Russia. We're at war. We are heavily involved in a war between Israel and Palestine, or Hamas, if you want to call it that. An Iranian president is dead. There is significant conflict popping up worldwide, and we are importing immigrants from all around the world into Western nations, eventually to cut off the funding that we are providing them that allow them to survive in the country they currently exist in without jobs, off the back of the American taxpayers. Maybe those immigrants are all going to get together at some point this summer and decide that there's not a lot of opportunity here, but we could make some. Okay? What would happen if our grid was hacked, even for a short time? And not a lot. What if we lost internet for a week in New England? No transactions, no water, other than the fucking water you have in your house, no food other than the food that you have in your house. What would happen? What would happen to information? Do you guys have radios? Do you have the ability to tune into a broadcast if your cell phone goes down and there's no cell phone network? Just in New England. You're going to drive outside New England through fucking Connecticut to New York? What if you're in Maine? What if you're in Vermont? It's not going to take a lot. That's what I'm trying to illustrate that to you, because that's the current environment that we exist in today. They're coming after a former president of the United States. He's a felon now. Billionaires have now gotten together to band with him. Against whom? What happens when a bunch of billionaires get together versus the United States government? Is that what we're talking about here? Are we talking about a bunch of billionaires and Donald Trump, chief among them, fighting for this election so that they can continue to exist? I thought this was a democracy. Oh, it's not a democracy. It's not a democracy at all. And they would be coming after you if Donald Trump wasn't standing in that fucking way. That's the bottom line. That really is the motherfucking bottom line to all of this. That is maybe the most truthful thing Donald Trump is saying. They are coming after you. I'm standing in their way. Because the truth is they were already in the process of doing that collectively. And that's what the Twitter files revealed. The Twitter files have revealed to us that if you have 100, 150 followers on Twitter and you make a joke or tweet out a meme, you could go to prison, which is what they did to a young man not only a couple months ago, because he tweeted out a meme during the Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump election, and he is serving, it wasn't a long time, but a couple months in prison. That's what's next. Those are things, it's already happening. What do you mean it's next? It's literally already happening right now. And young men across this country should recognize that. Because that could be you. Next, tweeting out a fucking meme. Not even one that you created. You just retweeted it. And then the Justice Department shows up at your house. And they decide, Hey, that was election interference. Well, what about all the things that Hillary Clinton said on TV yesterday? No, those aren't election interference. The only election interference was your tweet. But I didn't even come up with it. I just reposted it, and I only have 150 people that even follow me. Literally 75 people saw the tweet. Yeah, well, that's election interference, and now you have to go to jail. Now you have to get an attorney. It's going to cost you $15,000, $20,000 in legal expenses so that you don't have to go to jail for 5 years, which they're trying to put you in for because of some crazy law that they just put in place. They're attacking you and I all across the country. And if Elon Musk didn't buy Twitter and allow Matt Taibbi and Michael Schellenberger and Bari Weiss and Li Fang and a host of other independent journalists inside of a corporation to go through their files, go through their private emails and their private Slack communications to see the discussions that they were having about how they ran the social media network over the past decade and a half. He allowed that into the light so that we could see, holy shit, it was far worse than we could have ever imagined. Exponentially worse. Whatever the rigged Watergate scandal was that many journalists, fake journalists, point to as potentially the biggest news story of a generation, that was all a fabrication. Because the biggest stories you don't find out about in real time. You find out about them after the fact. And they revealed to you that something you thought, like the Watergate scandal, wasn't exactly what you thought. If it was, in fact, a big scandal, it was far bigger than you could have ever imagined. And the stuff that they put in the newspapers was just the tip of the iceberg. That's how all of this shit works. Nobody noticed the Twitter files. Guess what? The New York Times, Rupert Murdoch, all those guys that I just listed, they didn't want you to fucking find out about it. They didn't want you to know that one man, Elon Musk, allowed a bunch of independent journalists inside of that corporation to expose the criminality of what had been going on between our government and private institutions, the collusion of which is often called fascism. Okay, guys? That is why I understand the present better than fucking anybody out there. And if you think you understand it better than me, then I want to talk to you. Oh, this is a great pod. This is a great podcast. What else? What else could be coming? You know, I think it is going to become apparent to all of us in the coming June, July, August, September, October, November that we're all going to have to get together for something. And I don't know what that something's going to be. But I really hope we're not getting to the point where they take Donald Trump out because I just don't see how many other options they have on the board. They do not want this man to win the presidency, seemingly at all costs. They've corrupted the judicial system. They've corrupted the institution, the Defense Department, our FBI, our CIA. They're all working against him. You know, where does this lead? How could they allow him to sit at the helm of those mechanisms that you know he's going to use against you? You can't. You can't. I wonder if RFK Jr., if Biden steps down, the Democratic Party re-embraces RFK Jr. as the political only last resort to fight Donald Trump. And we have two political names, the Kennedys and the Trumps, two political families now going up against each other. Because if you're naive to the fact that that's exactly what was just created, a political family in the prosecution of Donald Trump, you're just stupid. How many kids does he got? And I know that a lot of people have loved to highlight how stupid they are or how silver spoon they are. Um, but time will determine that. Pressure creates diamonds. And this family has been under a microscope for the last 8 years at least. At least. And you have to remember, they lived among high society before that. There have been microscopes on these people for decades. They may have been able to control the view, but that doesn't mean other people didn't see behind those lenses and know all of the dirt behind it. Right? So if there was shit to be exposed, it would be exposed by now. So now you've just been harassing these people, this family, for almost a decade, if not a decade or more. What becomes of that? What happens? The same thing when you murder somebody's fucking father and uncle, two politicians. What happens? You create a political family. They're going to be involved. The Kennedys will be intertwined in politics in the United States of America for as long as there are Kennedys or United States of America. Same thing with the Trumps now. That's what you did. You created another monster deep state. But okay. All right. That's enough of the current events section. We got plenty on Donald Trump. Now, what else? I'm excited. I'm excited to talk about this because the consciousness portion of this is, the last 35 chapters was I didn't know what the fuck was going on. I didn't understand the progression of what had happened and what had transpired in my own life over the past several years, Mr. Jelinski. Several years. But Michael Beckwith is a spiritual guidance counselor. I don't know what else you would describe him as. He was the spiritual advisor to Michael Jackson. He was on a podcast with Andre Decum this past week, and I listened to the whole thing, and I listened to it a couple of times. It was fascinating. It was just a fascinating conversation for somebody who travels the world with the most world-renowned, influential people and tries to guide their spiritual existence, which is crazy. Now, I would say this guy's fucking woo-woo full of shit, just like he described in this podcast. He said, 15, 20 years ago, everything I was describing was woo-woo. Everything I was describing couldn't be explained by science. And now here I am 20 years later. This is Michael Beckwith. And everything I was talking about 20 years ago can be explained by science. It was just waiting. I was just waiting for the science to catch up. Now, does that mean I should have stopped teaching what I was teaching? Of course not, because I was onto some important esoteric information. Esoteric information is information that is passed down and held among a small group of elite because the information is so important, it cannot be distributed. Well, those times are over. We are in the age of information, and that information is being distributed, and Michael Beckwith understands that. And that's why he's talking with his group, which is Agape, which I haven't fully looked into his foundation. He's having conversations. He's got a podcast. I encourage you, if you like what I have, any of the things that I have to say, I encourage you to check it out or listen to the Andre Decum. It was only about an hour. But what Michael Beckwith was really discussing is in our current construction of this matrix of space-time, the world that we interact with, the world that we exist in, the institutions that I was just describing, the democracy that we all believe, it's all bullshit. It's all a construction. I've talked about this I don't know how many times. The Wizard of Oz, The Matrix. If you look at The Matrix as a documentary, you will understand the things that I'm talking about. All of these things we bump into don't really matter. They don't fulfill us. And we understand that if we focus on them and do the inner work, is what he calls it, self-work, to get to know ourselves. And that's really the crux of what Michael Beckwith is trying to talk about. And in today's society, we have this issue with the victimhood. And there are stages of this victimhood mentality. There are 4 of them. And it's the way that we talk about energy, frequency, and vibration, and the way that it moves through us. When we are a victim, we believe things are happening to us because we have no control over them. Our free will that we made decisions limited us to only a couple of decisions that we had to make, and bad things happened, whether they were from God, whether they were from the devil, whether they are from our parents. They are things that are happening to us, and we are a victim of them. You have to recognize this first before you can make any progress spiritually. And victimhood has become sold to us so much in this current construct of the Matrix because we've been hit with it from every direction of advertising, of mainstream everything, our education system, our teachers, our medicine, our food. It's not your fault. It's not your fault that you have a slow metabolism and that's why you're fat. It's just something you have to deal with. Must be your thyroid. There's nothing you can do about it. We can sell you some shit, but God decides that some people are going to have cancer and some people are not. And if you believe things are happening to you, then there's nothing I can do to get you out of that space of consciousness. And that's the issue that I've been running into. I'm running into people that have no desire for change. No matter how much I try and beat it into them, there's nothing I can do. Nothing I can do about it. I have to wait for them to recognize that that is a temporary state. Their consciousness needs to be aware that there's something else out there in order for them to recognize it. Now, people come to this recognition in many different ways. Sometimes they have a horrible crisis in their life. Sometimes it's a health event, a near-death experience. And it wakes people up to say, there must be more than this. Are these really the only options that I have? Is it really Pfizer or Moderna? I have to take this vaccine or I'm going to get COVID? Or is there something else I can do? Is there another option available to me somewhere? And I don't mean to hammer the vaccine topic, but I feel like it's been pretty prevalent in all of our lives over the past few years. And it will continue to play that role over the next few decades unless we learn from our mistakes. Now, there are other ways to recognize that you're in this victimhood state. And part of that is just getting sick and fucking tired. And that's really what it was for me, because I spent so much time trying to figure out how all of these systems worked inside the Matrix. And I was very successful at it, to the point where I could start predicting the future. I only needed certain points of information, and I had such a clear construction of how all of these systems interacted that I could see that given A and knowing C, that the only outcome that would be possible would be X, Y, or Z. Everybody else was wasting time going from A to Z, trying to figure out what might happen. But if you knew A and you knew C, well, then obviously it was going to be X, Y, or Z. So there's only a few paths available to the population. But you need to gain, you need to forgive yourself, to give yourself the ability to gain control if you want to move through that status. And I was so fucking tired of dealing with the Matrix that I needed to find another way out. And that's what this motherfucking podcast is, guys. It's explaining it to you, but I'm also doing it so you can fucking see it and see that it's motherfucking possible. Go back and listen to chapter 1. Go back and listen to the preface. And then go back and then come and listen to this fucking episode. You tell me if you don't see the full progression of exactly what I'm about to explain to you. Okay? Now, once you recognize you're a victim, you're going to start gaining control over yourself and the decisions that you make. You're going to forgive yourself for thinking that it was the devil doing all of these things to you. You're going to forgive yourself for thinking that it was God, and you're going to recognize that you carried some responsibility in those actions. And when you gain control, you're going to move into the second stage, which is by me. You're going to become a manifester of your own reality. Okay? So initially things were happening to me, and now you're going to regain that control, and it's going to happen by me. My thoughts are units of mental energy here, and that's what you start to recognize. Every thought that I used to have about being stuck in a situation that I can't control, that I have to deal with, that I just have to accept, that sucks. I'm going to start looking for other alternatives. I'm going to deny the premise that I only have an option of Coke and Pepsi, and I'm going to ask if they have water. Okay? I'm going to start denying premises outright, and I'm going to spend my time focusing on the things that I want to focus on, the visualization. And there's different experiments we can do that Michael Beckwith was talking about on this podcast. So the cold match experiment. So you can go up to somebody with a cold match. You can tell them that it's, a hot match. And you put it on their skin, and they pull their hand away, and they take a look at their hand, and it's burnt. And then they look at the match, and they realize the match wasn't lit. It was a cold match. But their physical body is experiencing the pain as if it were on fire. How can that be the case? That's because our bodies have the power, our consciousness, our brain have the power to manifest experiences. And when you start looking outside the box at the other options that weren't so clear to you before, the whole world opens up to you. And you recognize that you can use that consciousness to create whatever feelings you want. If you want to be happy, you need to feel happy. And you need to find a way to make yourself feel happy. And then you need to stay in that space for as long as you can. This is all the visualization process, because the next step is through me. So we have by me, we have things are happening to me. We have things are happening by me, the manifester stage, when you start to visualize and start to feel the natural state. If I want a nice house on the ocean, because I know sitting next to the ocean in the sun with that ocean breeze will make me feel happy, then I know that all I have to do to get that feeling of the happiness is not buy the house next to the ocean. I have to go sit next to the ocean, and I will feel the happiness. And I will visualize myself sitting in my own house on the ocean. And that is what will get us to the next stage, where we give up the control that we have just regained. Things were happening to me. Now I am visualizing and manifesting them. They are now happening by me. And now I need to allow them to happen through me. So I have to give up that control that I worked so hard to gain again. That's the difficult part. All right? You have to surrender to the next great version of yourself. Now, what does that mean? Now, as you move out of your victimhood, you're forgiving yourself for all the things you didn't know before that you recognized when you became a manifester. You forgave yourself for not recognizing them. then you gave yourself the control to take them back. And now you need to continue to stay in the 2 state. Try and experience as much of the happiness as you can until it eventually moves through you. And that's when the synchronicities in the universe just start lining up together. Like how I had no idea what I was going to use for a table and a chair out in this goddamn garage, and how I was going to do a goddamn podcast. And I just happened to be driving by Costco. I took a walk in there, and they have personal tables that are no more than 5-10 pounds that I can carry out into the goddamn woods, a garage, whatever. And I can set up wherever I need to. These synchronicities just start lining up, and they start working through us like the entire universe is lining up as if it's only for you. Okay? That's all a part of your own creation. Nobody else did this shit for me. I did it. I did it all. And now I'm allowing it to speak through me. And stage 4 is I'm in it. That's it. You're in it, but it's not linear. Okay? We don't go from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. That's not the way it works. If you were successful in this, you will live between 3 and 4. It will continually be happening through you, and then you're in it. Continually through you, and you're in it. But occasionally, you will have to go back to stage 2, that visualization, where you need to regain control, forgive yourself a little for some things you didn't recognize before, and allow yourself to allow things to work through you until you're in it again. I am a motherfucking psychopath. I'm a psychopath, but Michael Beckwith helped me understand this. These are the 4 stages. All right, that's what you are recognizing in all of these zombies walking around in real life. They have no power. They're victims. It doesn't matter that they don't understand the economy. It doesn't matter that they don't understand politics. They can't not become a victim in their own kitchen. They can't find a way to get outside into nature. All right? So by working on our own process, we allow others around us to see us go through the process. And it gives them the confidence to go through the process on their own. Okay, guys? It's pretty nuts. But that's what Michael Beckwith was talking about. That's what Michael Jackson spent so much money and time and energy and focus with Michael Beckwith working on. And that is not to say that Michael Jackson is a perfect human being. I think everything that has been dispelled and disseminated about Michael Jackson and his quote unquote pedophilia will be revealed over time as potentially a big propaganda campaign against Michael Jackson and the type of messages he was seeking to spread with the world. So forget about some of the convictions like that, bringing it all back together, that may have been dealt to people in the past, because you didn't have the whole perspective of everything that was going on. You don't know the whole story. You only see one aspect of it that somebody wants you to see. Who? Who wants you to see Michael Jackson like that? So that you wouldn't respect all of the things that Michael Beckwith talked about with him that I just explained to you? That's pretty important shit. That's literally a roadmap to changing your own fucking life. And if you don't believe me, I just fucking did it. Why don't you go back, listen to the podcast, watch it again. I'm going to be so fucking good at this because I already fucking am. All right? but I'm going to continue to get better. Oh, and I need you guys to call me out on my bullshit when I'm getting a little ahead of my bridges. It's easy for me to be humble sitting in this garage. Look around. I got nothing and no one. 8 listeners, 170 followers on Twitter, if that. But it was 0 when I started 6 months ago. And here I am. I got rid of a fucking apartment situation that was one of the most fucked up things that I've ever had to deal with. We're 35 episodes into this, and I've never been more invigorated to continue down the path. Just so certain that whatever this road is, it's for a fucking reason. I don't know why, but somebody needs to hear some of the shit that we're talking about. And we are going to have some good discussions with some interesting people. And I'm so looking forward to that. And once it starts popping off, I'm sure these solo podcasts are going to be probably a once a week thing once we have a regular, you know, cohort of guests that are coming back in. And we're going to touch on the topics of the culture, the consciousness, and the current events as things come up with people with different perspectives, doing different things, things that they love, that they want to share with the world, that we're going to use our little spotlight to shine a light on and promote. People that are doing cool shit. People that might be right around the corner from you. People that might have an interest that sparks your interest, that moves you into a whole different universe that you didn't know existed just a little while beforehand. All right, guys? That's how we're gonna do it. I am so excited about this new chapter. I fucking I'm dead. I did a couple, I don't even know how long. I got a new jogging trail. I did a couple laps at a new place. We're gonna see what that goes. I have just been trying to remember those stories and try and keep up with this for so long that now we're going to get back into the regular swing of things. This is going to get a little nuts. It's going to get crazy, and I'm having a fucking blast. I hope you guys are enjoying it. If you have questions, why don't you submit the questions at patreon.com/Mugsy the Creator, and I will answer any of the questions you guys have about the culture, the consciousness, or current events that are going on right now. We'll check back in on you guys. I don't know, maybe at the end of the week. But you know how it is. Take back your consciousness. I love you. I'm out.